Good morning, guys. How are we? Welcome to another week here inside of Better Body Academy. What is going on, guys? Good morning. I hope you are having a beautiful start to today, and we are get started in this episode in 2 minutes. I decided to put a little countdown clock up there so we can time it in. Guys, let us know if you are coming in live, and I'm super stoked to have you this morning. It's got the Killers happening in the background. Oh, one of my favorite bands. I love this song. So let's rock out to a bit of Killers for a little bit first, and we're going to get started in this episode very soon. It's a big episode that I've got coming today, guys. So if you're a little bit sleepy, I think you're going to be quite awake after this episode, and I lay down some facts. How was your weekend, guys? Let us know what was the story of your weekend. Did you get some relaxation in? Tell me the story. Get me in the comments. Let me know you're in here. We got all the regular crew. Look at this. Danny Troutman, the absolute legend. How are you, mate? Mr. Barney, how are you, dude? Starting your week the right way, pal. I love seeing that. Miss Michelle Follett, the ever-present, the Oracle. How are you, Nico, brother? What's happening, mate? Guys, let us know if you are indeed coming in live for this episode. It's really nice to know who I'm actually speaking to. Pammy, what's going on, girl? I hope you're good, mate. Good to have you in here, Pam. Alex, good morning, love. I hope you guys aren't in bed together. Hopefully it's a little training session you guys are doing. Shelley, quiet weekend for me. It was much needed. Yeah, I feel that one, mate. I feel that one. And we got Jen. I want to say thanks as well, Jen, because those videos that you sent through, mate, were very cool. Still waiting from a bloody testimonial for Michelle Follett's trying to get a date with the Queen, to be fair. Danny says kayak course for the weekend. How good, Danny? What a legend, mate. I'm so proud of you, Dan. I'm so proud of you, just the way you're laying things down, dude. It's pretty inspirational to see, actually, Dan. The complete change in your lifestyle. Of course, we've got Trav here, the legend. What's going on, Travie? Good morning, pal. Lovely to catch up with you on the weekend as well. Guys, I think that's enough prelude. I think it's time to get started in a big episode. What do you say? So play along here. I'd love for you to comment along. Let's get this thing popping, and we can get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of dumb diets and unsustainable workout plans, the absolute crap of the fitness industry. This is the #1 podcast. This is where you tune in. I'm your host, Jace Stewart, and we are from the Better Body Academy. Now, today, this episode is going to be about 10 reasons that you're not getting what you want. Quite a provocative title, I think, and I'm going to give you the reason why I'm doing this podcast episode. I want to be a little bit vulnerable and really give it to you and be honest. And so the reason I'm doing this episode is last night I went out with one of my mates for dinner and his family as well, who are up here in Noosa. By the way, if you haven't been to the Sunshine Coast before, you need to get up here. Like, the Sunshine Coast of Queensland is, I think, the most beautiful part of Australia, personally. The beaches are deserted. It is just like beach. Pretty good weather all year round. It's a bit expensive in terms of property prices, so I'm trying to negotiate an audition courtier to move over here, but we'll see how we go as far as that's concerned. But I'm sitting there last night, and I've got a full belly from some Thai and some dinner, and it was really nice, and I just had this moment of what is called Impostor Syndrome. Do you guys actually know what that is? Have you ever heard of Impostor Syndrome? Impostor Syndrome is the idea of when things are going good in your life, you sit back and you start to ask yourself whether you deserve those things or not. You start to question whether you're an imposter in your own life. You start to think to yourself, why me? Like, what did I do that's special to get, recognition and to be able to live a life like this? I'm sitting back in an apartment, in a house that's just behind me, overlooking Little Cove in Noosa, and I'm feeling this overwhelming feeling like oh my God, like I'm not good enough for this. And it's a kind of a weird feeling because it's like this paradox between, being very, very grateful and appreciative for where you are. But then also on the other hand, just this kind of really quiet voice that's there that says, do you deserve this? And so I think a lot of us end up self-sabotaging in these moments. So what we do is we say, no, you're right, I don't deserve it. And so we will then go into a behavior that ultimately undoes the thing that we've created. I'll give you an example. So many of us are in relationships where like our partner is just the best human in the world and we love them so much and they're kind to us and they look after us and they're our equal, and we start to doubt that we deserve someone like that. And so what we do is we act like a dick with no reason at all for doing it, no justification, almost as a form of self-sabotage because we don't deserve it. Maybe we are in a fat loss transformation and we're making progress. We've got one guy who started with us last week and he's already about 5.5 kilos down. He's a bit of a big fella, but he's just in it. And I see this repeatedly over and over again where guys make fantastic progress at the start and they're almost like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this is true. And so what they do is they go out and hit the piss and undo all of their good work because they feel that they don't deserve it. And it couldn't possibly be as simple as this is to lose weight. So this is what imposter syndrome is. And so what you need is you need a sense of self-awareness to be able to cut that stupid conversation that you're having with yourself about it. And one of my best clients here, Michelle, says, I'm suffering that exactly at the moment. Well, this is the conversation that you need to have, Michelle. You need to be able to say to yourself, okay, hang on, wait a second. I work really hard and I put in the freaking hours. And for me, the biggest thing that I need to always come back to is I've got a really good life now. But Jesus Christ, I was wading through shit for so many years, wading through shit. And that's the part that no one sees. And so what I've got to do is in dealing with my own imposter syndrome, I need to step back from that and crush the story with facts. Crush the story with facts about the amount of hours that went in, the amount of money that went in, the amount of time that went in. And when you shine the facts on the story, all of a sudden you can break away from the story and kill it with logic. Does this make sense, guys? And so this is exactly what I did. This late last night and this morning, I absolutely busted any form of imposter syndrome with logic. And what I can tell you is that after coaching so many people for so many years, you get to see patterns, okay? You get to see patterns. To me, I can just see patterns happening in front of me from people that are really, really successful and completely transform their lives. We're talking about people, and I'm always talking about the same people like John Timmons and Trav Sanderland and Terry and Nico and people like Christy and Linda and Michelle and these people that just overhaul things. They do a certain number of things which the other people don't. Or they realize that they're doing things that are self-sabotaging and they stop and they break away from those things. They realize it in the moment and they correct the course of action. So a bit of an intro to what I wanted to talk about today, guys. Now what I'm going to do is give you my 10 observations on the reasons that people don't get what they want. And when I say what they want, I'm talking about in the 3 key areas, right? I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about wealth and career, and I'm talking about health, okay? Now, bear with me if this episode gets kind of passionate and heated. I want to try to hit a mark here, okay? Because if I hit this mark here, and I want you to play along with me while we're doing this podcast episode, and I want you to ask yourself, do I do this? If I can give you one thing that you're currently doing that you go, yes, I do that. Why do I do that? And you no longer do that thing anymore, or you give that thing attention from this morning onwards. Write it down, comment it, get some way of grabbing that thing. So let's get stuck into number 1 of the 10 reasons you're not getting what you want. Number 1, you say you want it, but you won't sacrifice pleasure for it. One of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich. In this book, it's an eternal classic. And in this book, the number 1 thing that is in that book is that you need to have a burning desire for the thing. I can remember when I was in my corporate job, and I had such a fucking burning desire to be a coach, to really help other people change their lives. But it needed to start with me having a burning desire to change my own life. And until that burning desire turned into so much pain about where I was at the moment and absolute drive to turn that little flame into a bushfire, only then does it actually start to take hold. I think there's a couple of people listening who might really take something out of this episode. Terry and Trav and Lucas, off the back of the conversation that we went into after the huddle call on the weekend. You can't fucking have it if you don't go after it, right? You can't say that you want it and spend your nights watching fucking Netflix, just letting things go back. You have to put in the work. And I see the work that gets put in by our coaches and how much they want it. It's like, it's the priority. It's like family number 1, and then this is the thing. They go after it. They want it. They hone their skill set. Now, when it comes to you, I want to ask you the question, do you want it, or do you absolutely fucking want it? I'm sorry about the language, but you can't just pretend to want it, but then as soon as it gets tough, go, it's not that important. That's the reason why you're not getting what you want, because there's a certain level to which only if you surpass that, you can break through. Let's talk about, transformation. In transformation, you hit plateaus where you are working against what your body wants to do. So you are in a plateau. You're in a plateau because the body doesn't want to give up fat because it's geared for survival, and you don't want the fat, so because you're geared for looks and feeling and confidence. And so you have this kind of, you have this Mexican standoff. That Mexican standoff is eventually going to subside if you stay in the game long enough, but you've got to want it. So number 1 is you say you want it, but you won't sacrifice for it. Number 2 is you're not surrounded by the right people. This is the biggest thing. These are in no particular order, by the way. You're not surrounded by the same people. You're in a fishbowl with people who are just not adding any value or growth to your life. And equally, you're not adding any value or growth to their life. One of my favorite sayings, and Luke Durham, I think you posted this in the group the other day, and it's one of my favorite sayings. You can't solve your problems with the same mindset that created them. So what that basically means is that if you were sitting there and you've somehow got yourself to a place where you don't want to be, either with your health, wealth, or relationships, whatever it is, we can't sit there in the same seat or the same fishbowl and solve the problem that created the problem, because you created the problem with the current mindset. The best way to change your mindset is to put yourself in the company of other people. I was speaking to a number of guys over the weekend from our most recent mastermind. They are all experiencing success. And the reason they are all experiencing success is they got into a bowl with other men that were picking them up. And particularly as we get into our 30s, 40s, and 50s, and we start to lose touch with our friends from high school and the like, it's harder to grow your network. And that's what makes it so worthwhile. So you've got to actively seek out people who are going to pick you up. And the simple reason for it is this: you need some new ideas. You need a new way of thinking. And the only way to do that is to change your environment, because in a new environment, what's going to happen is you're going to get exposed to new ideas. I remember when I started my current coaching program that I am part of, I am like the smallest fish in this pond, right? I think from an absolute sense, I'm doing good in life. I feel good, but I'm a small fish. There are some people doing incredible things there. And I, by virtue of being in that environment, I'm learning things by being surrounded by people who are doing better things than I am. And it's intimidating and it's awkward sometimes, but the reason you do it is because you're willing. Go to point two. Point one, you have a burning desire to be better than you are and experience more than you are. So number two is to be surrounded by the right people. You've got to be. Number three kind of flows on nicely from the last point is you're consuming shit. I think a lot of people they don't consciously realize what they are putting in their mouth and what they are putting in their brain. Okay? They don't consciously realize it. So what happens is in these old environments, they're exposed to a bunch of stuff. The stuff goes in there. It becomes part of their program. And they're like, I wake up 10 years later going, why did I start doing that thing? I don't do that thing. And 10 years has passed. They have no awareness that there are better ways of doing things. It's like my brother's a concreter, okay? And one of the first things that he needs to do is go in and essentially clear out a driveway or a slab. It'd be like him doing that all by hand with a shovel. When you can come in with basically machinery and go and knock it all out in one go. It'd be like him taking wheelbarrows full of concrete from here to here when actually there's a better way to do it. You can pump stuff from here to here. And so many of us, because we haven't learned anything in a long time, because we're too busy consuming shit, we haven't learned anything. So we're using old tools to do what can be achieved a lot quicker. Number three is that you've got to stop consuming garbage. You've got a limited amount of bandwidth and time that you can take in, and you've got to start consuming both food and up here, things that are actually going to add value to your life to get you closer to who it is or what it is that you want to experience. Number four is a simple one. They take failure so personally. It's almost like if you step back and you ask yourself at the start of a transformation journey, is this going to be a straight line? Does anyone here think it's ever going to be a straight line? Like, of course it's not going to be a straight line. We know that. But then we get into a journey, we hit a speed hump, we get just knocked over, we get bowled over when we're laying back on our ass going, oh, this sucks. Like I'm losing trust in the process and I don't feel it anymore and I don't know what's going on. It's because you're taking things too personally. Failure is the change agent. Failure is the thing that needs to happen to build your burning desire. You need to get that failure happening because if you don't, you're just going to end up the same. And so when you take the failure personally and you go from experiencing failure to being the failure, you identify the failure, you become the failure, that's the problem. Like, just depersonalize it. You failed. Who cares? What do we learn? How do we move on from that? Instead, what's going on is it's like, I'm down here and I failed and I fell off the horse and this is like it's like a fucking pity party. You got to get back up. Like, the failure is inevitable and it is the change agent. It's the catalyst for growth, as Travis said. And once you get past the failure and you stop personalizing it, you go, and you can just take a lot in your stride because you know that you're strong and you trust the process because you've seen the process being done 1,000,000 times over. And you know that if you just keep your head in the game, you will be fine. So number 4 is stop taking failure so personally. Number 5, you keep trying to do things yourself. And you constantly just value so much being self-made. I did it all myself. That's me. But inevitably what happens is you run out of time. You see, this is where I believe, and I certainly practice what I preach, is that coaching is imperative. There are other people that are doing what you want to do, and they're doing it now, and they're doing it quick. And the reason is most of the time because someone has given them the tools and the mindset to be able to do it. But you're still back there going, no, I'll figure it out on my own. Like I'll figure it out on my own. And how do I know this? Because that's exactly what I did. And I wasted 5 or 6 years treading water, walking through shit when there was a way to do it, which got you from A to B. If I look at the kind of the growth in our mission, it was like this, like flatlining for 5 years and then bang. And if anyone was around the academy long enough, you will remember the bang. It was like 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, women's program, bang. And that was a year ago. And the reason is because I got a coach. I got sick of struggling by myself and I started to go to someone and say, dude, like I'm fucking exhausted. Tell me what to do and I'll pay you for it. But too many people, all they value is their money and they don't value their time. And that's okay. That's understandable. That's fine. But if you don't value your time, well, that means that you pay in time. So that means that 5 or 10 years will pass. So you've got to ask yourself, are you okay with spending your time? Because inevitably, you probably will figure it out. But are you willing to go 5 years figuring it out? If you are, that's completely okay. But you can't then complain in the moment that you haven't worked it out and your life sucks. It's because like you only value money and you don't value time, and the two currencies exist. For me, I've kind of at the point where I'm just, maybe it's turning 40 in a couple of months, I don't know, or for whatever it is for you. I'm just like, I'm going to die. And I'm not after accumulating more things. I'm after experiencing more things. And I'm going to die. And for as long as I can be here, I want to feel everything. I want to try everything. And I'm not willing to sit here counting down the weekends till the weekend, passing time. Let's keep going. Number 6 in this list of 10 reasons that you're not getting what you want is that you accept mediocrity. You believe that, well, I come from hard background, I've got bad genetics, I had a tough start in life, whatever it is, and the past is the future for me. This is as good as I can accept. Now, I think this is really important to note. Some people really do start behind others. Like it's a fact of like, I just feel so grateful for the country and the family that I was born into. We weren't rich, but I had a set of parents that actually understood that it doesn't matter where you come from. My dad was a Maltese immigrant that came across to Australia at 6 years old and couldn't speak a dime of English. But he realized that the past is not the future. And he worked to a position where he got us into a good life. And so I think what happens is we let other people's standard of what is okay become our standard. They look in at our life and they say, hey, you can't do that. And then we think to ourselves, yeah, you know what? I can't do that. That's probably right. And so we settle. And so what we need to do is we need to say, no. Like I need to stand on my own 2 feet here and ask myself, what am I actually capable of if I get out of my own way? And rather than accept what society tells us, we need to go after what we want and what's going to make us happy. Does this make sense? Thanks, Dwayne. Dwayne says you don't look a day over 22. Thanks, Dwayne. Well, dude, all we do inside the academy is teach people what we do. That's it. That's all it is. There's the scientific background to what we do, and there is the practicalities of what we do. And you merge those 2 things and you've got Better Body Academy. All right, number 7. We're down to number 7. This is big. Listen up. Are you doing this? We waste away our days doing shit that we hate, counting down the weekends, and literally running the clock off on our lives. We talked about a moment ago, there's 2 types of currencies. One of them's time, one of them's money. And I've mentioned this in a previous podcast episode, this idea of, I used to have a colleague that like the coolest part of his day was to sit down and take a shit and get paid for it. And he would walk out and proclaim. And I must admit, at the time, I thought it was pretty funny, actually. He's like, I just did a 30-minute shit and I got paid for that time. But when you actually step back from that with a little bit of self-awareness and you go, if that is the best thing that's happening in your day, like, fuck that. Like, that is just not, that's not life. That's not experience. That's not living. At a certain point, you want the pain, you want the discomfort, because that, even though it sucks, it hurts, it's actually growing you. Now, there's a number of guys that have changed careers as a result of recognizing this, whether they've gone to studying, and you know who you are, or you've gone to a new business and it hasn't worked out for you, and you know who you are. Just don't accept that change is a mistake. It's not a mistake. The mistake was to stay where you are and keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. You had the courage to change what you were doing. Now, if that change is not what you wanted to, or it hasn't worked out to be, that's okay. The only problem here is if you stop hunting for what you actually want. When you stop going after your purpose, and you know exactly who I am because you are watching this live, okay? You stop going after. It's not a mistake to change careers. It's not a mistake to, what is the mistake is continuing to sink time into something that is not making you happy. This is called the sunk cost bias. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, what we are talking about here is that when you stay in a relationship that you are desperately, desperately unhappy with, but you stay in it because it's better the devil you know. And because I've put so much, I've been in this relationship for 10 years, so I've got to stay in it. Because how am I going to go back and start again? Fucking start again. Don't tolerate just this mediocrity. Let's keep going. Number 8. You're listening to advice from people that you don't want to be like. I'm going to say that again. You're listening to advice from people that you don't want to be like. That's like listening to a song that sucks over and over and over and over and over again, and driving from Sydney to the Gold Coast and playing the song over and over and over again. I hate this song, but I'll keep listening to it. I have a rule for myself, and that is I just don't listen to advice for people I don't want to be like. So the first question that I ask myself is, someone said, well, you should really think about how you let's just take an example here. You should really think about your swearing in a podcast. The first filter that I use is, okay, do I respect and want to be like this person? Okay, maybe I should actually listen to their opinion. Or if I don't, okay, I'm polite and I say, thanks, man. That's a fair, let me think about that. And then I move on. I don't think about it again for a second. So just ask yourself the question as we wrap up this episode. What people are you listening to? Are you listening to someone like me or your BBO coaches who believe in you? Or are you listening to your mum or your dad or your brother that tells you, oh my God, you can't do that. Why are you trying? Why are you wasting your time? Just backhand it. Be courteous and simply say, hey, you know what? Let me think about that. And then just don't think about it again at all. Stop listening to people who you don't want to be like. It's a very simple concept. Number 9, as we bring this list to a close, is we use our kids as excuses rather than reasons. Let me explain what I mean by this. We say, I can't go to the gym because of kids, time, etc. I had a great conversation with one of our awesome clients on the weekend, and I said to her, well, look, if you have 2 options and you show your kid these 2 options, one is that mummy's going to sacrifice 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours a week to her fitness journey so she can get herself in shape. She has more energy, more love in the moment, both for herself and for you, but it means that it's going to come at a cost of 3 to 4 hours a week. Or if you had mum give you all of those hours, you don't lose those 4 hours a week with mum, but instead, mum dies at 60 of diabetes. Which one do you want? Come on. What do you think your kid's going to answer? I'll take mum who loves herself, who's excited, who has energy, okay, who feels confident and is going to be around here till she's bloody 99 years old. That's the mum that the kid's going to want. But too many of us use our kids as a block and we say no. And as Luke says in the comments, is a great comment. Get the kids more involved. My boys love it. Yeah. Find some stuff that you can integrate with them. You know, there's other ways to train than just going into a gym. And guess what? When they see you do it often enough, they're going to just do exactly what you do. Copy the program. So not only are you benefiting yourself for the kids, you're going to benefit the kids for the kids. And guess what? If you change it, if you make the change now in the way that it's actually just a mindset shift. Michelle said it, do it for your kids as opposed to not doing it because of the kids. If you make that shift in your mindset, you are going to change the future of your grandkids' kids, and so 200 or 300 years down the track when you are dust on this earth. And that's because you made a simple decision to prioritize your health, which changed the programming of your future generations. Like, you talk about fucking legacy. That is power. Let's get to number 10. You refuse to take ownership and responsibility for everything that happens to you, good and bad. Okay? I think what a lot of us do is we take conditional ownership. And what I mean by that is when we get some experience which is good, we say, that was because of what I did. That was because of what I did, and I did really, really well. Look at me, how good I did. But then when we do really shit in something and we fail at something and we take this failure personally, because we take the failure personally, we blame other people. The first thing we do is look to other people. It's not almost it's almost like a gut reaction. And we just look to blame someone else. What if, whether it's true or not, what if we could just actually step back and say, hey, everything that happens to me from now on is going to be my fault. I'm going to take responsibility. Like, that is power. No longer are you going to be subject to the things around you that you can't control. You're just going to control the things that you can control. And I'm going to give you an example of this. One of the things that are happening inside Better Body Academy is our vibe, our tribe is epic at the moment. I'm not happy with the amount of you guys that are checking in on a weekly basis. But I'm not blaming you, I'm blaming myself. I'm taking responsibility for that because clearly I haven't done a good enough job on explaining why this is important, why it's critical to you, why it will benefit you, or I've complicated it, it's too difficult, or something's going on there where it's stopping what is an easy task. Take a photo, add your measurements to the app. Why is that such a difficult task? Now, the simple thing for me to do is blame you. You just don't want it enough. And maybe there's a component that that's true. But if I do that, that exonerates me of all responsibility. Do you see where I'm going with this? So instead, by me taking responsibility for that, what I can instead do is look at, okay, how can we improve this process? How can we get what we want and what we know works to actually happen? To finish off this, guys, as a result, inside of Better Body Academy, this week, I will be running a new workshop called the Ultimate Ownership System. I'll let you know when it's going to be, most likely Wednesday night for people in Sydney. It'll be Tuesday morning for people, but there will be a replay. But it's called the Ultimate Ownership System because I want to lay out exactly what I need you to do, which I can guarantee if you follow, you will be successful in your fitness or fat loss transformation. These are the things that I can guarantee you. But if you don't follow the blueprint, and I have done my best to explain, like, this is what you need to do, then I can't guarantee you the results that you're after. So this has been a fairly long and detailed podcast, but I note we've held the entire audience the whole time. So I'm hoping that you guys saw a little bit of value in this. What I'd ask you to do is maybe just think about what are the things that kind of, what's the one thing that you notice you do? Like, what is the one thing? Rather than try to work on the entire list. If you want me to, what I'll do is I'll pop this entire list into our various Academy Facebook groups so that you can look over them and pick the one that's out for you so we can summarize it. But for the most part, guys, just choose one, okay? Choose one that you can work on at the moment, because I guarantee you, if you tick that one box and you're able to move on to the next thing that's keeping you stuck, and you start ruling out all the things that are keeping you stuck, in 6 to 12 months, you look back and go, this podcast was the thing that made me think about up here consciously, solving my own problems and opening my own bottles. Guys, if you got value out of this podcast, please do me a Monday morning favor. If you haven't done so already, please head over to the Apple Podcast Player and just simply leave a review. It helps more than you know. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you're after straight fire on a Monday morning. I'll see you guys in the next episode.